Hello, everyone. I'm Christina. It's been a minute since been back on the YouTube, huh? It's been one of those weeks I just haven't felt that well. And I apologize for the long wait. It's very irresponsible, I know. But today is a very special day. Today, our Lord Jesus is risen. And we like to remember and honor that. Now, a lot of people might not realize, that there are some traditions that are questionable, but for Christians, Easter is about Jesus resurrecting from his grave, coming back, and after he had been on the cross and died for our sins. And when we're living in the last days, it's important to keep that in mind and let it give you hope in a time that is very, very, very crazy. And so, as you can imagine, having Easter would look a little bit twisted in the time of the last days. And so we're going to go ahead and go over just some of the news that we've been looking at recently that just really lets you know that Jesus is coming back. We always knew he was coming back, but it was signs and things like what's going on today that lets you know that that wait is coming to an end. Jesus is coming back. Hello, I want to welcome everyone that's already here and thank you for the thumbs up. That is absolutely wonderful. Appreciate it. Go ahead and say hi. And if anybody's new, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that all notification bell if it actually still works, like the dislike buttons that are being taken off of certain people's videos. Hello, Ray J. I'm glad you caught it too. I just kind of come on spontaneously, right? Hello, Watchmen. Happy Easter, everyone. So good to see you guys. So let's take a look and see what's going on in the world. Okay. Just make sure. Okay. Yep. Didn't undo the wrong buttons. Okay. So when you think about Easter, you think about Jesus and Israel. And so I wanted to go ahead and start there. And the news has come out recently that the Biden administration returns to calling Judea Samaria occupied territories, no longer recognizes the Golan Heights. So there's some kind of negativity towards Israel. I feel that way. And it seems like changing of perceived borders anyway, not necessarily a change in borders, but there is an article about it. We'll go into that briefly. It's from Israel 365 News. Came out March 31st. And it starts out with a Bible verse. It says, "A false witness will not go unpunished. He who testifies lies will not escape." Proverbs 19:5. It shows next a picture of Biden next to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank city of Ramallah on March 9th, 2016. So it shows that Biden and Abbas had a relationship prior to this day. And so it looks like that might be the basis of why the terminology is the way that it is towards Israel right now. But it says the Biden administration returned to using the term occupied when referring to the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Golan Heights, and Eastern Jerusalem in its annual human rights report issued by the U.S. State Department. Under the Trump administration, the State Department dropped the term occupied when referring to these territories and removed the Golan Heights from the 2018-19 reports after the United States recognized Israeli sovereignty there. That section of the report covers Israel within the 1949 Armistice Agreement line, as well as Golan Heights and East Jerusalem territories that Israel occupied during the June 1967 war, and where it later extended its domestic law, jurisdiction, and administration. The language, however, is not meant to convey a position on any final status issues to be negotiated between the parties to the conflict, including the specific boundaries of Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem or the borders between Israel and any future Palestinian state. The report did acknowledge Washington's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital in December. So it kind of gives now, so it may not be saying anything is final, but you can see the direction that they're going with this. It's not hard. Hello, Doc Airline. Happy Easter to you also. Thank you for the 2 thumbs up, you guys, and welcome everyone that is here. Hello, Susie Pentland. Always glad to see you. We're just getting started. We were just talking about Biden administration returning to calling Judea, Samaria occupied territories. So what we're talking about is, again, the direction of weakening the boundaries of Israel, maybe a future thought on changing them to more Palestinian state places in the future. Oh, that's wonderful. I'll take a look at that photograph as soon as I get done here. Thank you, Watchman. All right, good deal. But while we're dabbling in something like that, as far as what territories are what and how they're called and how they're referred to, suddenly there are rumors that have begun circulating that the divide in America is going further than the divide among the people, because we've been a divided country, but it looks like, and this is rumor, that America is preparing to divide into grids with separate governments. So that's more of a physical divide. And we knew that messing around with Israel, we can get our country physically ripped apart by God for messing around with Israel. And you wonder if the things that's going on in our country is like signs that it's coming. The way that everything, it's not just a physical dividing of our country, it's every level being divided. So with that in mind, we're going to go and talk about the poll that I went ahead and took yesterday on the new voter restriction law that Georgia decided to enact and that Texas followed in suit with. There were 22 votes, and 86% felt that it was a good thing because it would deter election fraud, and 14% just thought that it would make things harder. But the majority thought that it would be better to deter voter fraud. I mean, especially if dead people are voting, there's a problem. Biden himself condemned the tougher Georgia laws after Georgia was a deciding state in the last elections. But even though he can criticize, he himself cannot be criticized because YouTube has decided to remove the dislike button for his videos, and even in some cases, the actual dislikes. So censoring is really growing beast, isn't it? All right, we'll take a look at that. Hold on just a second, folks. Yeah, I knew we were in for a ride when Biden called Psalms palms. Okay. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Isn't that when Jesus was being crucified that he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He was taking on all the evil that had to be washed away. It's what I'd been taught, that it kind of deterred God just a little bit, pushed him back, but God never left him. Never. It was just so much evil that was put on our Messiah's being because of his sacrifice. He was the only one who could take it on and wash away our sins. My trip to hell, I witnessed it myself. He really was the only one who could get anybody out. The only one. And so I'm very thankful for Jesus' sacrifice. It was very brave of him. And in these days, we have to be brave too. I think that following Jesus' shoes isn't just about being a good person and following the rules. It's about all the levels, anything that we can learn from him. You know, he sacrificed himself. He cared about people. He was willing to change people's minds as to what is worldly and what they really are looking for, in the respect that they could leave everything behind and follow him. He was an amazing man. He showed us another way than the world could be torn to pieces. Doesn't the Bible say, if you divide my God's land, Israel will divide yours? I'm not sure, but Watchman has a verse there. Maybe that has something to do with it. Let's check out Zechariah 12 super fast. Zechariah. Oops, I forgot the Z. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. This looks like they're like a battle coming against Israel and Jerusalem, which that is coming in the future. But I do remember the Bible verse that was saying that Israel was the apple of his eye, and that if we touch it, we're touching the eye of God, and it's not a good thing. And we are touching it, aren't we? Every time I turn around, there's something going on between America and that country. And just the return of the terminology lets me know what direction we're headed in right now when it comes to Israel. So I'm always looking to see what's going on with America anytime we mess with Israel. And right now, we've got 400 million gallons of contaminated water being dumped into Tampa Bay recently because this holding pond is leaking. It's got lots and lots of radioactive contaminated water. And then just a day or two later, Florida was reporting red tide. And now they're having mandatory evacuations along the entire Florida Gulf Coast. Mandatory. That's a lot of people. Mandatory evacuations all along the Gulf Coast of Florida. Now the jet stream kind of pulls it out of Florida into more of the Atlantic, so that could be heading towards Europe. We've got like our own little Fukushima here now in the Gulf of Mexico, because radioactive material came from manufacturing fertilizers. So no more swimming in the Gulf because it's toxic. I mean, it wasn't like we weren't having flesh-eating bacteria disease the last few summers anyway, among other problems. I mean, I can only imagine the fish death, rot smell they're going to have now. This is really bad, because the water, it comes up on the shore, it runs underneath Florida. So I'm interested in just wondering what it's going to do to the land, especially if like hurricanes start coming in and washes all of that water into all these communities. I mean, can you imagine? The photograph, okay, is very critical and a change, I believe, in a stance of facts that are now concluded. I'll be sure to check it out. Hello, Daryl Calhoun. Clarissa, good to see you. I wonder if it's related to the Florida government refusing to mandate vax IDs. You never know nowadays, Clarissa. It's the final tribulations. And they you hear the pastors talking about how fast everything is happening. It's happening faster and faster. And we've got these fireballs that are supposed to be coming in, that are already coming in, and we can see it coming. We can see it coming. What are the cherry blossoms in DC are blooming early this year? See, the seasons are off. The growing zones are different. What was wet is becoming dry. What was cold is becoming hot. Texas had a blizzard. Yeah, that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe we had a blizzard. I mean, for us, Texas winter storm, but um, turns out that winter storm impacted a lot more long term, because we're having grocery store household staples are reportedly set to increase. Cat food, peanut butter, paper products, because of supply issues, freight issues, the Texas winter storm, because all the processing plants that went down, and even the Suez Canal issue recently is all to blame and is costing the global economy. So this whole cat food shortage, it's real. It's real. Uh, it's not just cat food, but it's more than even the products that are listed here. So be on the lookout, because your costs at the grocery store are going to go up again, and you might start noticing it as early as this week, which is starting tomorrow. All right. Now, DC has already been on lockdown again after a car smashed into their barricade. The driver was shot and killed. And I'm sitting there thinking it must be nice to have border security to vet who comes in and out of the place. But it just seemed kind of, I don't know, overboard to go on lockdown and call in more National Guard over one car trying to drive through that. And the driver was already shot. So they stayed on lockdown. It was a little dramatic, but it just also seemed really two-faced, because they have security. They have guards that make sure that only who they want to come in and out is there. And I'm just like, wow. Wow. Must be nice. Cherry blossoms in Japan too. Yeah, we're in the beginning of sorrows, Revelation 6. Revelation 6, I know we're in that. That's when we've got the four horsemen riding, the fifth seal martyrs, and what looks like in seal 6 to be a pole shift. And you know you're going to have all the signs ahead of time. Okay, but you've got the light, you got the dark. And today we remember that this is the day that Jesus Christ rose, but the dark side's alive and well too. And we're getting the way they celebrate the Easter week of Passover, because it really started last weekend when he would have just gone up on the cross. This weekend is when he had died and risen again, the Passover weekend. And during this time, you start hearing the report of the rapper that had a video of him seated in hell with satanic references. And somebody, if not the same rapper, comes out with knockoff Nikes with blood in them. Something about Lil Nas X, I think is his name. But Nike's suing. They're not very happy. Also, for Easter this year, we get a Mother Mary horror movie. All right. In Egypt, they used to think that once a pharaoh died, that he became the god Osiris, the king of eternity. So Egypt held a parade recently that had a look like a tank for every single old pharaoh that used to be around back in the day that's been mummified, because they believed they would come back. So that's the way the world is. You look at the times that we're in, and that celebrating Easter in the last days is different. It just seems, you can see the world is crazy, but it just also seems like, okay, this is why it's most important to really keep in mind the sacrifice that Jesus made for us on that cross, and that it's through him that we know God and have access to God and to these miracles on earth, that God's words live forever, that Jesus is the Messiah, and he died for us on that cross. And we've got that hope right now, no matter what's going on in America, what's going on in the world. But I tell you what, it's just getting to that point where me and my kids are thinking, what where do we want to move to? We really are thinking maybe we need to go ahead and pack up and leave America. I'm not sure if I'll get the chance. I mean, especially when you look at the earthquakes that are going on. When I put it on all magnitudes and just zeroed in on Texas, there was over 360 earthquakes in Texas just over the last 30 days. And then we had that one right near Shreveport in Louisiana. That was a 3.0, y'all. There are things that are happening. There are things that are happening. This is crazy. Well, it's not crazy. It was predicted, but I mean, it's just really mind-blowing to watch it. Sailboat. I'm telling you, what we are kind of thinking is going ahead and getting another DNA test that will be just completely geared to finding our Ashkenazi Jew heritage. Maybe we'll try trekking back to Israel. It's one of our thoughts, definitely, if we can get there. But I felt like it would be good to at least have that DNA evidence there in hand, or in the cloud, so that it wouldn't look like I'm there and I'm not supposed to be. But this is our Easter. This is our Easter. And you think about how the world is and how could people get to this point, and that's when you have to ask yourself, what would you be like if you didn't believe in God? You'd be just like this. You wouldn't mind getting the tattoos, you wouldn't mind the transhumanism, you would be big into science. That's how you would be. You would think that the changes that are happening in the world are great and that they're for the best. You wouldn't have the discernment that we do. We have to challenge ourselves to go deep inside so that we can do great things for God no matter what is going on. That the challenge, we have to be more strong-willed. It's easy to lose your temper, lose faith, and hope, to just give up. But to push yourself not to give in to those temptations and pushing through requires an act of bravery, strength of will, and a true desire to persevere. Jesus said people would have dreams and visions. I've had dreams about war, pestilence, asteroids, quakes, floods, the MOTB, heaven, hell. Wow, Clarissa. God's talking to you. He's talking to a lot of people. See, I've had visions also. I haven't had the pestilence ones, but definitely war. I've had a lot of visions about war and the apocalypse. Things like that. I still don't know what Octubrus means, but I know I'll find out someday because it's linked to a disaster. I don't know how. So really, this Easter, this is a special one. One, because we are in the last days, and to hold on to our faith in Jesus right now, it's important, because we're heading into something. We're heading into a lot of things. A lot of prophecies are going to keep being fulfilled. And if you take a look at how many people had visions of a Russian, Chinese, Middle Eastern invasion on U.S. soil, and then you look at the what's it called? The way that Russia and China has been using their army and positioning themselves and taking control of certain things, the way that they've lost respect for America. You can see with the earthquakes hitting in certain places that they used to not to, like Texas, Louisiana. You can tell that even the earth is ramping up. It's ramping up to meet at some point in time that's going to be absolutely perfect, but we still see it ramping up. And if you're not growing food right now, you should be, especially with these prices rising. I would definitely be planting something, even if you don't even eat jalapenos. Plant that tree anyway and trade for things you do want, because that's basically what it might come down to. You've never heard God talk. It's very, very rare. There are some people that think that you can't hear God, but you can. It is rare, but you can hear Moses talk straight to him. It can be done. I've heard, actually, okay, I'll tell y'all what happened. It was a couple of summers ago, probably about 3 summers ago. I was getting shots in my back because my back is messed up from flipping this Jeep 5 times. Anyway, so I'm getting these shots in my back, but they have to put me under. Well, I'd prayed that God would be there during my little shot surgery. And I'd actually prayed it in front of the team right before they put me out. And they prayed with me. Well, during the surgery, I'm suddenly watching my own body, and God's right there watching me. I'm watching him. I look so I can see myself. I can see him, and I'm just chilling. And he looks and he goes, "Tell that doctor I'm going to bless his business." And I said, "Sure. As soon as I wake up, I will." He goes, "No, do it now." He touched my shoulder, right? And I came straight up off that table, out of the anesthesia, while they were in the middle of doing this to my back, and told that doctor and passed right back out. He was crying. I don't know what he had been praying while he was doing this. I don't know what had happened, but God blessed him. And 2 weeks later, he moved to Dallas for his own practice. I've heard him talk. He's very he's got that authority. He does. So you can't hear him. China just sent 5,000 fishing boats down to raid Philippine fishing. See, we talked about that earlier. Wasn't that earlier this week? We talked about that it had like a militia type formation going on. Clarissa says, "I refused the vax, had a dream about people turning into zombies after taking it. And I'm not alone. Other YouTubes have had similar dreams." I just have a bad feeling about this too. I really do. And I trust my feelings when I have all these people saying, "Oh, it's good science. You need this jab. You need this. It's good for you." And then everything in me is screaming, "No, no." You know, I don't, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of zombie apocalypse because of some kind of injection they're putting in people. It tastes like canned chicken. Everything tastes like chicken from what I heard. Oh my goodness. So you see the world, it's changing. We can have parades in Egypt about pharaohs. We can pray to an Aztec god in California, but to no other god. We got Mother Mary horror movies, rappers with satanic references. We've got the world turning upside down. The pollution of our waterways is ridiculous. So see, the meteors falling, everything lets you know that prophecy, it's like the checker pieces are right there. You just cannot miss it. You cannot miss it. It's time, one way or another. A lot of us are about to meet Jesus. Whether it's because of a mega hurricane or golf ball hail dropping down or whatever, we're getting ready to meet God somehow, some way. A lot of us survive, but man, these are the last days. So this, again, it's a very special Easter. And while we have time to praise God and worship and be thankful and remember our only hope, this is a good thing. The drugs rolling through the southern border will cause a zombie apocalypse of their own. I think they already have. Ugh. At Doc Airline, I know drives me nuts. They don't understand it's not always fast. CDC loves us. So many people are gloating and bragging that they had the jab and that nothing happened to them. I've heard that people's personalities have changed right after getting that they're just not the same person. I've been hearing a lot of that. It's kind of still low-key talk, but I still heard a lot of it. Ugh, yes. I just feel like we've got enough already to worry about with this changing world. We don't need to make it harder on ourselves. But I think it's interesting that they call us resistors. It kind of reminds you, and I know this is stupid, but it reminds you of Terminator. They were the resistance. They were the people resisting what was going on, and it was an all-out war. If you can hear this, you are the resistance. Google search is now, in fact, telling you America is the daughter of Babylon. I would not be surprised. It's goodness gracious. Do you notice a lot of the churches on the other side of the world, they started getting raided, burned down, Christians missing in Nigeria. They said all we can do for them is pray now. I'm like, those are some fifth seal martyrs over there. I will later, and I'll be looking for that picture you sent too, Watchman, that's for sure. mRNA. I don't trust anything that's going to mess with my DNA. I wouldn't do that for anything. I wouldn't take anything that messes with my mind. Being an epileptic, that to me just feels very dangerous. I don't want anything else interfering with my brain at all. I don't even like people touching my head. It's very sensitive. I'm going to stay human with all my faults. I'm okay being a mortal. I'm okay with that. Yes, I agree with you on that, Daryl, in the sense that obviously the Bible was talking about a certain Babylon that's going to come under judgment, but I think you're right as far as the spirit of Babylon can be in many places, because it even talked about the Antichrist. There's the Antichrist, and then there are those that have the spirit of the Antichrist. So, and that Jesus was saying that many Antichrists have gone out into the world. So I could see that in a spiritual sense. I mean, like, you think about the letters to the 7 churches, a lot of those places that those churches were written to don't exist anymore. But the spirit of those churches had to have remained. And that you can, that's what I'm thinking. Only one daughter Babylon spoke in the Bible. The others are daughter of Zion, or mystery Babylon, or Babylon the Great, or the harlot. That's why I believe the vax is the mark. Because my 2 dreams, a pestilence when people take the mark, turning into zombies, not being able to get anything without the mark. And if you think about it, people don't really know how to garden anymore. They don't know how to go out and forage. They don't understand how to fix things anymore, how they work, or how to create things. So they're really very dependent on the system anyway. They might not survive at all if they didn't have the breadcrumbs that they're going to be getting to them. There'll be breadcrumbs. We're going to have to learn to survive on our own, not on the system. Okay, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's live stream. It was a wonderful live stream, and I want to thank everyone that was here. And once again, wish y'all a very happy Passover weekend and happy Easter, and thank all of you for being here. God bless you all. Bye.